probably not even let me leave this video up if I leave this music on. So I only let her have a little second. Oh man. I'm watching, I can see. A lot of you people are feeling betrayed this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. A lot of people are feeling upset this morning. And you know, what if instead of being upset, you find the blessing? See, a lot of people don't understand one simple truth. It's like science. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whenever you have a tragedy in life, we focus on the pain and the misery of the event rather than the fact that wherever there's some great pain on the other side of that, there has to be some positive. And if we only in each situation, instead of concentrating on the pain of the betrayal or what you're feeling, that you look for the positive. And I know it's easy for someone to say who actually practices it, and it's easy for someone to deny who doesn't. But let's just say that when you look at all the money that we have found has been wasted and stolen, fraud all over the place, the people just going to town on the taxpayers' money, Americans' money. And it's, you know, a lot of people are pissed off that it was sent to these other countries and these other places. And the reality of it is, what you should be pissed off is that it's been sent there and back again to the people who sent it there to begin with. And this decision by the Supreme Court, in my opinion, it's beautiful. It's freaking beautiful. Because here, up until now, a lot of you folks just refuse to recognize reality. You just fail to recognize reality. And one of the realities that we face in this world is that we're not going to win every single time. This phone is actually, my phone, I got to get another phone. But we're not always going to win, but you do win even when you lose, when you learn. When that process is lost, then all you do is wallow in misery, you react. And that's what I see. I see, you know, and I'm sad to say it, but it's not something I don't expect, because a lot of times, because we're on the right side of this argument, a lot of times we forget that we're actually human. And I've noticed this because, you know, the world exists as a mirror to us. What the hell? It's a mirror of our own behavior. What we see in other people that we don't like, you only see it and you recognize yourself in them. The Bible talks about it, and until you actually figure it out, you run around hating people rather than learning how to relate to them, because they have the same failures that you do. And when you fail to realize that you possess the same failures that they do, that's when we're lost as a people. Now, over here, we just paid $2 billion so that you could figure out that not all these people that Trump picked. Think about this. The first time through, did Trump pick all a bunch of winners, or were those people a bunch of backstabbers working for the deep state? I'll wait. Okay, I don't have to wait. You already know the answer to that question. It was rhetorical. So it's not like he made perfect decisions, and he's not going to be perfect, and we're not going to win every time, but you always do win if you look for the positive. And now we know that that chick ain't worth shit. That's what we know. Now, it only cost us $2 billion to figure it out, but I knew it from the beginning. And I'll tell you why. Because a woman is a woman to the end of time. When people say, what is a woman? I'll say, if you've ever lived with one, you'll understand what a woman is. And I don't care if it's your mom and she was the saint and the salt of the earth, she's still a woman. And if you would be able to step back and look at her objectively, you'd say, that was one crazy bitch. Period. And there's a reason for that. It's that XX chromosome. You know, XX, that's only one X from three X's. And three X's, as we all know, most of us, is poison. So a woman from the very first is always just one step away from poison. So as a man, you have to understand that there's going to come times, especially during the month, that you might have been able to count on her wisdom and her insight 2 of the 4 months of the month. And when you break it down, that's half the time. Because they have these chemical imbalances that they go through, and it affects the way they think. And they can deny it all they want, but it's fucking reality. And what's really sick, and it's a twist that God put on us, is that if you got a bunch of women in the same house, they all get the period at the same time. So you get the pleasure of experiencing 3 bitches, 4 bitches, 2 bitches at a time. And then you look at the Supreme Court, and all of a sudden we're putting people up there because she wasn't picked because she was the most qualified judge out there on the circuits. She was literally, even though the right likes to pretend that they don't do it, they throw out their token chick over here and and listen, if you don't believe that a lot of the people on the right, especially those rhino Republicans, they don't like black people. Not all of them, but some of them. If you don't think that they use ethnic groups as tokens, you're wrong, because those people are a bunch of puppet masters. They manipulate people and they know how to do it. And so they jerk the chains of our better nature to get people to do things that are against our better nature. And right now, everyone on the right is reacting to this Supreme Court decision. That's one decision, is $2 billion. And guess who it goes to? $2 billion. They ruled that it's going to go to that gap-toothed, election-denying criminal down there in Georgia. I'm not even going to say her name. We think we know who that is. Bitch looking like Aunt Jemima who ate too many damn pancakes. Yeah. But you can't get mad. It only cost us $2 billion and they've stolen trillions. Look at our right now. I can remember when Obama came in, our national debt was like $9 trillion. And it's just went up exponentially since then. It went, yeah, like a sebaceous cyst. And now we done took a scalpel to it and it exploded. And guess what happens when you open that nasty sebaceous cyst? This nasty gunk goes, shit. Yeah. Listen, I know I was in the VA. They was taking one off of my back, right? And so it was central anesthetic. And they took us into this little room. I was like, this is an operating room. It looked like a closet. Well, they thought it was a fibroma. They thought it was a tumor, and it wasn't. And when they cut into it, and it was an intern, he got shot with that shit. And when I'm laying there, and I hear boom, 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 this motherfucker, there was no room for him to move. He hit the wall, and then you heard the surgeon that was teaching him. He said, "Yeah, this is something you got to look out for." And I could smell it too. I was like, "Damn, damn." And that's what's happening right now. We have a federal government, and everybody out there, I don't care who you are, from the right, from the left, I don't give a shit. If you're a sane person, I mean even semi-sane, because we're all Americans, which means we're partially insane in the membrane, insane in the brain. But you got to take it like it, man, we just paid $2 billion, and you got to understand, when you put people in charge that are out of they have you, Jesus Christ, we got this guy that stood up. Now everyone's calling him the caveman. They're calling him all kinds of names. You don't need to call him nothing. He's already made a it's like if you went into the supermarket when I was growing up, man, your mother would snatch you up by your neck if you misbehaved in the supermarket, right? And what I saw right there was just like I see sometimes I'm walking through the supermarket. You got these kids so out of control there. They flip out and they start pulling produce down and doing crazy shit. And everyone stands back. It's been normalized. And so now we got to see it. He's a grown man. He's walking around with a cane because, hey man, the more you can add to your costume for sympathy and authority. Because everyone thinks, oh, he must be wise. Because look, he's old and he walks with a cane. And then he went and he showed his ass like a little kid. You can't pay. That shit's worth $2 billion any day of the week. They're destroying their own party. They're destroying it. And it should be destroyed. It should have been destroyed. When you look at the sedition from the Civil War all the way up until now, it was always the Democrats. And when you take a snake, and Trump said it, and you bring it back into the house, and you think it ain't gonna bite your ass, guess what? It's gonna. Just like the scorpion and the damn frog. All of a sudden, the frog's like, what? We're gonna drown. He says, I know. He said, why'd you do it? He said, it's in my nature. Once you understand their nature, if you know what a bear is and you decide to go out camping with grizzlies, yeah, well, don't be surprised if you're fat. Yeah, when I say fat, they're gonna store you as fat on their grizzly carcass. Winter's coming. I need some calories while I'm sleeping. And that's what's going to happen, you dumbass. And that's what they've done. They've gotten our whole nation into this tizzy. So everyone is reactionary. I don't care who it is, from the right or the left. So take it from me. What if you just looked at the positive and realized that for the first time we got our money's worth? Because I think $2 billion is cheap to understand that we're facing a battle. And those people, even the ones that Trump picked, they're vulnerable to the deep state and all of this crazy shit that the spying and all that. You got these leftists out there, they're going, oh my God, we don't think that, I can't believe they gave Elon Musk, he's got access. You know what? At the same time you're bitching about that, they just reported that over 400,000 that they know of Americans, right, had their bank accounts. The IRS went to their banks and just got everything, just tuned in. No authority whatsoever, but no one complains about that. Why are they looking at your bank account? And why is every transaction of $600 or more being tracked? While they don't want us to know where the money's going from these places that are put up there as slush funds for the deep state. So that all these corrupt people that work in federal government positions, they know how to make themselves very, very rich in a very short period of time, and they actually produce nothing. They produce no goods, and they only extract from those who do. And it cannot continue. Damn it, this phone. Ever since I dropped it, I was riding around with it in my lap, got out of the truck, that thing landed in just a way. Pow! So when it starts getting hot, it starts doing this. It has a seizure. It literally, and the seizure it has could invoke a seizure in someone. You ever read at the beginning of a video game? They're trying to tell you something. They have a test during a flight physical to make sure that you are capable of being up there. And they have this flashing thing to prove that, because some of us think you're like, I am the next generation. I am the genetic seed of the future. And then they flash a couple lights in front of you and you're like, doing an epileptic seizure. Never even knew it. You done just got proved wrong, boy. You ain't hey man, my sister, she gave me a better son than you. Get on. Yeah, I'm just, that's just a redneck colloquialism. A lot of people don't realize that, like, the redneck is a black and white. It goes back to fighting the company store type shit. And there were black men and white men. And the thing they called them rednecks for is because they wore red handkerchiefs around their neck. Because that's what they had to try to keep the cold out. If you listen to Thomas Sowell, he could really let you understand why there's so much more in common with the poor white person in the trailer park, which the poor black person points at in ridicule, living in some apartment that the government pays for. But they'll come out and everybody's trying to build themselves up by tearing someone else down. And that's the same thing with the fake Christianity we got going on. Because everyone's out there always comparing themselves to a person that's not even in the race. If the other person isn't even trying to be a Christian, isn't going to church or none of that, and you're standing there holding your pants like you was some Amish dude. Yep, looking at I'm going to heaven. That drumbit there, he's going to hell. That dude ain't even in the race. The fact that you're comparing yourself to someone who's not in the race means that you're standing still too, you stupid bastard. It's not about what that guy's doing. It's what you do in your daily life and how you fucking change, how you evolve, how you become more in tune with what God says to how to behave towards other people. People are like, listen to him talk about God. He's cursing. Well, he really didn't say shit about cursing. When they talk about curse words or foul language, they're talking about people who bear false witness and lie. You had the Puritans were the ones that, a lot of people don't realize when they made the comparisons to the Puritans, when they compared them to like militant Islamists, it was a really good example because the Puritans actually didn't come here because they were the nice guys in the scenario. If you really look at history, they were practicing, like, they became so strict that the government said, whoa, you're just making shit up. You're interpreting the Bible and you're just making shit up, and and they were inflicting, consequences on people, and they said, no, you're not, you don't have the right to do that because they had their own little part. These guys came over here so that they could have a free run of it. That's why we had the Salem witch trials. You had people that would be put out in the stock and they would treat them like shit and humiliate them. If a woman was caught like with another man who probably forced himself on her, they literally would put a scarlet letter on them of A, which meant adulteress. That's real shit. But they don't want you to read those books. See, those are the books they take out of the library. Instead, I was talking to someone the other day, and you have to understand why they put all this degenerate behavior, why they promote all this porn on the internet, why all these young ladies and older ladies are all turning to the devil. Because that's the devil. When you're out there and you don't realize what you're doing when you're naked and you're exposing your nakedness to the world, not only the prophet, but the reality of it is you're giving away the only power that God ever gave you. And that's why if you ever read the Old Testament, it says that, like, if you see someone in their nakedness, it doesn't matter if it's your daughter, your uncle, your mother, your dad, you're not there. No, that's a state of existence which we're not supposed to share because of what? Our natural impulses. It's a way for us to be able to perform in society so that when we're out in public, we aren't objectifying women and doing what you see on videos now, where they introduce these people from these other cultures. They say, okay, multiculturalism. They go into a dance club where the girls are jiggling, and next thing you know, they're groping them, and they're saying, wait, well, you can't tell me that doesn't happen. No, it did happen a lot less frequently. You get some dumb drunk guy, he makes the mistake, he grabs the wrong girl, and the next thing you know, he's laid out on the floor. It's not acceptable behavior. And these guys are like, well, they feel as though they can do it because they're coming from some place which is the rape capital of the world. It doesn't matter if they were ever, caught doing it, because these guys are over there doing it in gangs of 10, 12. It's just a fact. You introduce them into a society where they might be able to overwhelm someone, it's no good. I don't care how much I have empathy, man. I care about people. I want people to have a better life, but I want better people to have a better life. How do you have a better life? Well, you can make a better life no matter where you're at. I was listening to a song. It's a Chris Cornell song from Audio Slave, and in it, he's singing about what true freedom is. And freedom is when you don't see walls. See, and that's in our society, that's one of the things that we miss, because that's the whole point of the Bible is freedom. It's freedom from the burden of sins, the freedom of burden of death, which is sins leads to death, right? And like they build up these walls. They're out there right now. When you look at why would they promote degeneracy? Well, we find out we got the Epstein files. We have all this crap with Diddy, and what you have to understand, why is it so salacious? Because it's this degenerate behavior that these people, now think about this. So all the people that they have papers on, they got documented, they spied on them. The Patriot Act gave them free will, and they know all your stuff. They know my search history up to everything I've ever searched to. They just go boom, because those dudes at Google would love nothing more than have a conservative, religious a person who believes in God. Because I'm not a religulous. I'm about the real shit. Everyone's out there, and I know how sick we are on both sides when I see people like happy that the Pope might die. Listen, you don't have to worry about the Pope. You really don't. God's got a place for that guy. You know, when you got a guy that comes out, when theologies can be compared, and you could take literally, if you took them and you wrote them both up in exactly the same order, like when you have qualifying, attributes, and then you put them down and it does the checking and the minuses, the pluses and the minuses like Ben Franklin, and you put it on a piece of plastic and you lay it over, and you got all these evil acts. You cannot say, and especially contradictory instructions, where one says that they hate liars and the other says to lie. It's like you can't. So if you're the guy that says they're both the same, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's his problem. It's not your problem. Your problem is recognizing the truth of God's word past the wolves in sheep clothing, like the Pope that has a foot fetish, who's having some difficulties right now. God forgive him and God bless him at the same time. And if you're out there praying that he dies, I feel bad for you. People, we're out here, and at the same time, you'll be the guy that's mad because you've got all these idiots out that are promoting this guy that executed someone in the street. Women falling in love with him like he's some kind of hero, like he's Lancelot the Pure. And the only thing he ever did wrong was get seduced by a woman who wasn't loyal to her man. Why do you think that stuff happened with the Supreme Court? Old girl wasn't loyal to her man. Now, do we think? Personally, I haven't read any of the briefs, so I'm sure that she has a legal opinion. And that's why, I really have a problem with women in positions like judgeships and things like that, because they're imbalanced, and at any time they could go on the other direction, because women are the reason we have to live with liberalism in this country to begin with. Shit, they tried to control alcohol. If women were the ones that pushed for marijuana to be made illegal to begin with. And women promote abortion over, using birth control. You call yourself progressive, and so here's what I say, and I said it yesterday and I'll keep saying it. If you want to progress, stop killing. Don't put yourself in, you can't be out there and say that, you're a vegan and shit, but you have no problem killing a baby, but you'll stand in front of a bunch of raw chicken at the supermarket. And you'll throw stuff on people saying, I can't believe you, these chickens. Listen, chickens are intelligent. You could grow in love with chickens, but the problem is, if you're relating to chickens more than you can relate to people, then you chicken shit. How you like me now, bitch? If you relate more to a chicken than you relate to a human being, you ain't nothing but a chicken shit, bitch. So don't be mad. Be glad, because every time you find out, listen, you know what? A lot of times your friends will stab you in the back, and now you find out they're not your friends. And you go, oh my God, man, we go way back. Yeah, and I would be mad as hell that it took me so long to find out. Because every hardship you've had, every time you've stumbled and they was there and you were telling them about your pain and crying, the whole time they never cared. They were only there to see you hurt. And how do you know that's true? Well, when they finally do betray you, they were like, you know what? He's hurting just enough that now I can reveal myself. Like that hidden danger, like a trapdoor spider, and just So you got to stave a little bit, man, so that you know, when you finally find out, you got to be able to realize that you are blessed now. Because imagine if you was really so weak that you couldn't recover from their attack. I mean, you're here. So obviously their betrayal may have hurt, but if you live in it, then you can never move forward. You have to learn from it. Take that as a bonus. No matter how hard it is at first, that's how you got to do it. That's the only way to get through it. Shit. Man, they want you to be afraid. And they want you to be caught up in your emotions because that's how they control people. They control people, like I said. They play a harp with your better nature. So what they do is they get all these people who are psychologically imbalanced and they start telling them what bad is. They keep saying it. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad, until they see you as evil. And then they tell you that there's only one solution to people as evil as you are, after they've done hypnotized them. You have to recognize the danger that we face right now, because what happens with people who are living under delusion, especially this mass hypnosis. Why do you think the Democrat Party came out? Why do you know, like everybody's out there, can you believe it, man? They exposed themselves. They are not caring what the people with open eyes see. They are mobilizing the imbalance to commit violence. They are trying to continue their insurrection, because the 2020 election was the insurrection. It was treason. No matter what anyone, you guys need to open your minds and open your eyes and stop allowing yourself to be manipulated. So anybody that would say that's got to be a conspiracy theorist, he's crazy. Really? I think it's crazy when you ignore the facts. When it turns out not only did they find tens of thousands of ballots for Trump in Fulton County, Georgia, right? Where all this Fannie Willis stuff is still continuing. Like, how can this continue when they've had a grant? They've brought it in front of a judge, like a review board, and it's been exposed that all these fraudulent voter activities happen. The news never talked about it, and they are continuing to pursue cases which have no merit because all of the evidence has been proven to be useless. So they put out this thing, they're all saying the same thing, because everyone who, like right now, I'm going to tell you something they teach you when you go to sales. And this is reality in life. There's two people that will buy anything that you are selling. 2 out of 10. There's two people that will never buy nothing that you are selling, no matter what. That leaves you 8 people in between those two extremes. So to have a true talent is to be able to not, you can't worry about the ones that buy everything, because you know what, you're going to walk up and they're going to say, you know what, I ain't got time. What do you got? How much is it? Boom. That's the way the world goes. And it's the same thing with politics. People are out there and their opinions they're not, most of the people out there's opinions are not, they're not arriving at it by trying to get all the information they can from all the different angles. That's why so many of us, you know, not me, I don't get frustrated because I understand that. So I don't expect them to, right? I'm surprised so many have fallen onto the right side of it because, you know, but if you look at the averages, like after the speech the other day, what I'm saying holds true. They say that 27% disapproved and the rest of that approved, which balances out to actually about 2 out of 10, right? So That's the way the cookie crumbles, man. They made a bad decision, but the nation is going in the right direction, and that other 20%, there's nothing going to help us get them to the right side of things, because they've already been bought and they're sold, and they're mentally ill, so they're violent prone. Right now, when you look at where the violence comes from, they say it's from the right. No, it isn't, because what they do is they react to things we say violently and then blame us for the violence that they commit. That's reality. We'll stand out there. The Proud Boys, they were defending people. They prosecuted the Proud Boys because their presence supposedly incited Antifa and a New York liberal mob to attack a whole bunch of like women. They were women that were being attacked, and the Proud Boys defended them. And then they tried to say that the Proud Boys were all a bunch of racists, and the guy that was like one of the main tough guys, right? The real deal, this dude will knock your fucking head off. He was in a relationship with a black woman, married to her, with a whole bunch of kids that are half what? I don't call them interracial, see, because I'm not a dumbass. There's only one race, the human race. Ethnicities and the different shit you get from having different tones of melanin or different mixes of DNA, that don't mean shit to me. You're still the human race, because that guy with the squinty eyes can still give you a heart. And then you live while he dies. Then we'll be stuck with you, and we lose a guy that can fucking add and subtract properly. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of here. Take it. Don't be so upset. I mean, it's hard for me. Like everybody's running around, and Trump keeps winning, and now we get a little bit of an obstacle. It's only a $2 billion skip jump. $2 billion out of hundreds of billions, right? We're over here. This guy over here. You know what's fucked up? It's like with this whole damn. I'll just Lord, I pray that you teach me in some way to shut up when good is good enough for a particular video, because these people really don't give a damn anyway. I can't help it. I mean, I could go on and on about these subjects, but it'll be in a fashion. People will be like, oh man, this blah, 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 because you got to look at things differently. Everyone's trying to look at things the same way, because everyone, no matter what side you're on, you feel like you got to be perfectly in tune. Jesus. If we had been perfectly in tune, man, nothing would ever happen. That's why all these other countries are not the innovators, but America is. That's why America is the melting pot. That's why, yes, we do. Listen, I don't give a shit, man. I don't like, I'm going to tell you something, like, to surprise you. I don't agree with Trump's idea that people who have millions of dollars could just say, you know what? I'm going to pay millions of dollars, and then I'm going to come over here and be an American. Hell no. Them terrorists that, was up in them planes. I don't know if you remember them planes. A lot of people forget them planes. They like to bring them up when it's convenient. They bring up them planes. The plane. It's like Fantasy Island up in this bitch. But I remember all them dudes, they was financed by some wealthy bastards. As a matter of fact, some sheik was up in a hospital, and all of a sudden, these people went up, visited the president, and his people went up and visited him, and then they whisked him out of the country in a private jet, never to be heard from again. They got all the money in the world, the people that hate America. As a matter of fact, what we found out through Doge is that that sorry son of a bitch over there, that Nazi collaborator, when you got a man like George Soros, who was proud that he collaborated. He said he felt powerful as a child. He grew rich off of they killed millions of people, most of them Jewish people, right? These were the Hebrews that they were killing, and anybody else, they were just killing you. If you was black and you was just happened to be in Germany, they didn't like the way you looked when they drove down the street. They were like, hold on. We don't have lawn jockeys up in this part of town. Grab that guy, and they'd just smoke your ass. And when I say smoke you, they'd put you in an oven just like a piece of ham hock. But they weren't going to eat you. Nope, no, they didn't take you out just in time to eat. They left you in until your shit fell off the bone and was nothing but ashes. Here we are. We got the same kind of shit going on, man. They tug at these people. They got them all worked up. It's crazy. It's just crazy. They want to call people Nazis when the real Nazis are, the Nazis took over the media first. They started promoting all of their violent rhetoric. You know, a lot of people don't know. Watch some History Channel for the ones that don't want to read a book, but don't watch too late at night, because that's when you're going to get the ancient alien shit. You'll start, just please don't get, if you come in here talking ancient aliens crap, man, I'm going to have to take my skin suit off and expose my android body and jump through the phone like, what's that shit, Terminator, and rip your head off. I'll be looking at you calling your ass John Connor. Shit, and there won't be no coming back. Crazy ass fantasies people live under. Just insane. It's insane. It's insanity. It's anti-quantum reality. What are you talking about? They fold a wormhole, and then it just goes together like this, like a slinky. And then they go, and they're right here. Yeah, you can tell they're in our Congress and they're in our Senate. You look at Elizabeth Warren. She's got to be a lizard. Bitch, you cannot tell me that the aliens came here, they put on skin suits, and they didn't look on the camera, you know, and see that we like pretty women. See, right now we're living at a time where they're trying to shove ugly down everybody's face. It's bad enough they started messing with architecture. They done tore down anything that looked pretty. In India, the most beautiful buildings that were left there are in decay and squalor. They're falling down. In Cuba, that place was like Atlantic City back in the day. In Atlantic City, they modernized. They tore down. You used to be able to go down the street in Atlantic City, and they would have these old time marble facades with gargoyles at the tops of the roofs. And I thank God that I grew up at that time where I could still get to experience and see some of that stuff. And it's gone now because they ugly everything up and they call it progress. It's not progress. We're not progressing when all of a sudden we're supposed to do things better. And we, with all the technology in the world, and this is one of the things, they don't want the technology introduced into the accounting system of the federal government, because then they get exposed for stealing our money. They don't want us looking at their bank accounts, but conveniently they just been looking at for at least 450,000. Now, that's not a lot, right? But that's what we know of. Why would they have stopped? Why would they only look at 450,000 Americans when there's hundreds of millions of us? Why would they hire all them IRS agents? Because there's hundreds of millions of us. They're giving them guns and they're coming to take your shit because we don't give enough for them to waste. You don't understand. Something I've understood for a very long time. Whenever an American has money in the bank account, they see money to steal. Whenever our economy is doing good, like, they take credit. Bill Clinton had nothing to do with the results of trickle-down economics, which happened to be 12 years of Republican leadership. You had who? Reagan, Bush, 12 years. Trickle-down economics, and if you look, it correlates. Just do research on the economy by year, and you'll find that the election year leading into Bill Clinton somehow winning. Because when I went to bed, I was drinking some 151 rum and then celebrating because he was winning. I woke up and I was like, that lying ass cheater, That guy that cheated on his wife, like I couldn't believe that a guy who cheated on his wife, and then the woman that he had been having an affair with him for 20 years, came out with recordings, and the world sided against her and with him when he was lying the whole time. And then he started trying to deny even the tapes. How a man like that could win, and now you know. They couldn't control this election. They had played their cards. They overplayed their hand. And even the people on that spectrum, you know, of the 8 out of 10, I mean 6 out of 10. Damn, my math is fucked up. That's why we don't want the Chinaman to die and give up his heart. No, I'm just, that's back to a point in the earlier part of the video. But no, man, it's just, that's part of it. And they can't hide anymore. Just the way they behaved in the State of the Union, that they can't hide it anymore. And the only people that would support that behavior are people who are inherently imbalanced. Okay? Now, I have to get off of this video. Now, I see there's a whole lot of comments up in here. Listen, if you're insulting me, fine. I'm not even going to read the comments. I don't care. Have fun with it. It doesn't matter, because if I said something that made you so mad that you insulted me, then somehow I got my revenge. Because I already hurt your feelings, and I didn't really mean to, but since I did, good. I live by the mantra. If the truth would kill, then let them die. Because I would rather them die than have to live with their lie. How you like me now? And that's the truth, man. When the truth dies, when the truth becomes the lie, and that's what they've done. They've flipped it. They're lying. Everything they accuse one side of, they are exposed. That's all they are. And the thing with the way people think about other people, I've known that for years. They're out there going, the right they're very dangerous when it comes to fire. No, don't give a Democrat a gun, because there'll be a school shooting. Don't give a Democrat a gun. There's going to be something dirty going down. But every time one of them goes out and they do their business, and you got some big tragedy with a whole bunch of innocent people, and if there's any such thing, other than the fact that you're washed in the blood of Jesus, whether you're living that way or not, I don't know. So I don't know how innocent anyone is, child or not. Even some children, boy. Because if you're living in a household where your parents are out there and they're going to these churches with these women that are pushing for all this crazy shit, you're doomed. How do you get past that when you grow up? When you got a parent out there that's treating their child like a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, chopping off parts and dressing up one way or the other. And then they act like they're not, like, no, man, we already know the statistics. You are not part of the statistics, but your mental illness is part of the statistics, and now you're enforcing that on your children. It used to, I don't know, man. They get all upset if you spank your kid, but you'll let these people tear their kids' breasts off and shit? I don't get it. They defeated a bill in the Senate. We're over here getting all upset about $2 billion. I'm upset about all the money that these mad scientists are making, exploiting these sad, confused human beings. Because in the end, I'm going to tell you something, man. Those people and the way that they view the world, and we might not agree with it, but there's one thing I do know, that they're still people. They're people's children. And I don't care if their mother or father had something to do with the way that they are now. But I look at the way that they live, and it's like I know this person who's insane, and they have these psychotic breaks. And when they do, they just flip out. And everybody watches, and they're like, can't somebody do something about this? They're gonna, who you gonna, you know what? At the time that we're all going, oh my God, I can't believe this person is behaving this way, that this person is reacting in this way. Sometimes people forget that that's a person, a real human being who, despite how crazy it might seem, is experiencing whatever they're experiencing, and even if it's bullshit to us, it's real to them. And once you start forgetting that, when you fail to relate to even the basic human nature of a person, like they're out there suffering, and I myself am angry that at the people who exploit their suffering, they know that what they're doing does not help them, and yet they still profit from it, and then justify their actions by lying, because you know what, these doctors that are performing these surgeries, they know the truth. They know the law of statistics to the people are going to become there. It's just like these young women. I'm telling you right now, it's coming to a household near you. Your daughter's in her room with the door closed. They exploit our children's sexuality. And why? Because if they can normalize this exploitation, then all of that information that all of these secret agents have gathered to expose them with becomes moot. If everybody is used to degenerate behavior, now whatever you do in private doesn't matter, because now you've got everybody, they believe that to live in a good society, that you have to accept that behavior. And that's what's going on. And we can't allow it. There's certain lines that they cannot cross. And just because you have a segment of society that might feel that should be normalized, the majority cannot allow it to, because it's abnormal. And sometimes abnormal is just abnormal. And the fact that we live in a world where there's people out there that want us to, rather than they don't treat the cause. They're not going after the cause. They're like, it's like medication. If you got someone that comes in, they got these different mental illnesses. Like, there's people out there that hate parts of their body and go out of their way to have those parts of their body removed. A person that would remove that part of their body is not helping. You're not helping. If you're a surgeon and you would do that, it's not helping that person, because there's something at the core that causes them to think that way. And that's what has to be treated. You can't throw a Band-Aid on a deep knife wound and expect it to heal properly. It just doesn't work. Eventually the person still dies, and it's the difference between, dying a quick death or a long, drawn out, agonizing death, struggling to be something they can never be. Going through these hurdles that they have to go through to try to live what those people who should know better propose as a normal life, when that life is nothing but abnormal, destructive, leading to self-destructive behaviors which cannot be pulled back. When I was listening, and I'm going to end this with this, because when you listen to that Audio Slave, if you just listen to the lyrics, you'll understand that, that guy was in a place mentally that I never thought it before. But now that I just today was listening to that, it makes sense why he killed himself. Because you don't come up with lyrics like he has in them songs, and they don't come from a place of understanding. And so once you can recognize that human pain, then you yourself will have some understanding. So, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to end it with this. You might feel betrayed because of this $2 billion that's being forced to pay to this con artist out of Georgia. Because I think it's pretty funny. It's $2 billion, and that's exactly how much money that Stacey Abrams fake charity. It's some kind of it's not even a charity. It's some kind of greenhouse gas initiative. It's just a bunch of bullshit, and they're giving her the money. But that's cool, because now we know. I would rather know now at the very, think about this. Trump's got win. And now this happens at the beginning. So now we know. First off, we can't count on good decision-making processes from the Supreme Court just because we have these certain people in there. And I'm calling them chess pieces, right? In my brain, it's subliminally, that slipped. But they're like, you people treat them like they're chess pieces in this big game. But they're human beings, and we're not in control of the decisions that they make. They're not always going to be in line with how we view the world. And we don't really know why she made the league like it. This is a decision which is supposed to be based off of jurisprudence. And so if you look at her opinion, then you might change your mind. I don't know yet. But I do know I don't want to see all my people reacting and overreacting like the people on the other side do. That's all. I want you to recognize that. I want you to step and look back and say, you know what, I'm acting like a damn loony leftist right now. It's like the off with her head syndrome. All of a sudden they want to get the guillotine out for this woman. She's made decisions in our favor, and all of a sudden you want to put her under the muffler. Yeah. And I didn't say under the bus because the muffler's all the way at the back. You've already run her over, and now she's cooking. They're not always going to be decisions that we like. That's the world. And we're over here saying, you know what? Here we are. We're supposed to be the gracious winners. But we haven't been the gracious winners. Many people are out there throwing it in these people's faces. And now that they can throw a little bit of shit back in our faces, we're reacting because no one likes to have shit thrown in their face. Well, if you don't like it, then don't do it. What we need to do is move forward and recognize what's going on and do our part. Continue to support proper conversations about how you feel about these subject matters. I watched, they had this farmer over there, a big dude. They tried to corner him. They tried to overwhelm him with a couple paid actors up in a little diner setting. And you know that these Democrats don't eat in diners. Come on, man. Unless someone offered to buy it for them. Every time you see a Democrat in a diner, it's the one guy sitting with a group of other guys, and he's just along because someone else is paying for the tab. You don't know that? Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. I know it's true. Them money grubbers will suck all the money out of you. And not me, but yes, me too. No matter how much I don't think it's true. They get my money. It is funny how they get my money all the time. Sons of bitches. I don't even buy my coffee at Wawa unless I'm on the road and I run out and I don't have my thermos, which is a lot of the time, but normally I have my little Muggy Duggy. This little thing, it used to say dad fuel on it, but it was made in China, so it's that radioactive paint. It's probably giving me lip cancer. That's God telling me, Keith, you asked me to shut you up. I gave you down lip cancer and you're still flapping. oh man, I got to stop buying my coffee mugs over there at the dollar store. Whew. But they had one, man. I almost bought it there. I have this mental illness, man. It is. I know it is. Because I was in that store the other day and I got this thing sitting in my truck, right? Now, this is one of those things. This is what I call an old man sneaker. It looks like a coffee mug, but most of the time it would be used, you know, for like a mixed drink or something. You open that little top, boom, blah, 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 blah. Those suckers drinking this little, warm it up out in the wintertime. But I put coffee in mine. I stopped drinking. I don't need more than one bad habit. Just talking too much is like drinking, talking. Well, I can't shut up. I've got to give up the alcohol. Because when I drink the alcohol, I'm actually more loose in the lips than even now. But I almost bought another one of these the other day. Because it actually had like some deer on it. You know, like they had dipped it and it come out with the deers and all that. And then and as I grabbed it and found myself walking to the door, I go, you dumb bitch. I put it right back. I was like, how many damn ones of them do you need? What the heck, bro? What the heck? You can't fight a problem if you don't recognize the problem. And right now, back, and there you go, right? Ties right back into the video. That's the whole benefit to what goes down. You don't know we have a problem until you have a problem, and now you know. Shit. You can't, like, when things go to the Supreme Court, first off, the Supreme Court doesn't take every case, even the presidential cases, unless it's a really inherent challenge to the Constitution. And that's why all these lower courts get away with what they're doing. And people don't even understand the corruption in New York State. New York State is a tumor on the American way of life. They literally, somehow, you know, when many of these crimes with Epstein happened overseas, you know, it's been brought up. You know, I didn't even really think about it. But once I heard this, and then you realize where are the courts that, you know, push through all this shit. You know, Trump gets somehow some crazy lady tries to say that they had some type of interaction in a room. Never, no proof, none of it. And then somehow she wins hundreds of millions or millions of dollars from Donald Trump in a court settlement. Where does this all happen? New York. You got one entry in his accounting log, which when you have accountants, that one entry is in multiple logs, right? Anywhere they found that one incident, it was one incident, become 34 felonies. Where in any place in the United States other than, let's say, Georgia or New York, could such a miscarriage of justice happen? How the hell could that happen? Oh, it's New York. What else about New York is suspicious? Oh shit, you mean when Hillary Clinton, who had never been in any political office whatsoever, she had shady businesses in her whole life. The only thing she was really famous for was when she was younger and she got kicked off the Watergate investigation. Oh, what? She was kicked off. And the man who was running the Watergate investigation said that she was the most dishonest person he'd ever known. She had actually manipulated evidence. Now, we find out years later, think about this, there were tapes that were erased. Now, a lot of people think that Nixon erased the tapes because there was evidence on that tape that implicated him. What if there was evidence on that tape that exonerated him? That's why those tapes were erased. The motherfucking CIA was behind that shit. They set the whole thing up. Nixon didn't even know the guys. All of a sudden, there's missing parts on the tape. At the same time, right, she gets kicked off of the investigation because somehow the evidence had been tampered with. They never took him to court because rather than going into the court or being impeached, he resigned. Now, you know, the Democrats today, even if Trump were to resign, they would still continue with the impeachment process. But they didn't do that because they could have never won that case. They were happy as hell because they had manipulated the evidence themselves. They're the ones that erased the tapes, and then they created this big story now. You've got people like Mr. Bernstein. I won't even say, okay, Woodward and Bernstein, but Mr. Woodward is running around. He's like this big joke on like anybody who thinks about journalists, they realize that he was just built up by the CIA deep state as a reputable journalist. He had his deep throat that he got all that information from, never exposed, right? Because it was a grand setup. But then Hillary Clinton, right? She defends these men who picked up a girl. They did stuff to her. I'm not, I think, allowed to say the word on YouTube. I'm sure that we get violated to the point where she had to have a hysterectomy. This young lady was 12 years old. Now she's had to live a life without the ability to have a child. She was destroyed by these men, left for dead. And she defended the men in court and said that the girl was oversexual and brought it on herself. And you women out there, you think she's a champion of women. You women out there, you know, when her husband had done what he did to so many women, violating them, you know, and it would lead me to speculate that, you know, Bill married her, I think, because of all the women that he violated. She was one of the ones that after he raped her, she was like, I'm going to get something out of this, and forced him to marry her. And it had been held over his head ever since, because they're not affectionate. They're the most unlikely couple on the face of the planet. Now, I don't like, many people think that their daughter is from some other person, because she is the perfect ugly that would be what a girl would look like, with a father like him and a mother like her. I mean, it's, when you look at that face, you can see an ugly, effeminate Bill Clinton. And if Bill Clinton's mother was alive, you know, she would be proud of that little prostitute. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of here, bro. I see you in here, H minus. I see you, Janet Reno. You know, that bitch, after she did what she did, you know, a lot of people forget. They forget the shit, right? So under Obama, Janet Reno released like 20,000 criminals, 11,000 of which were murderers and violent criminals of every shape and form, back into the United States under the sequester. Right? So Obama wanted the sequester to damage America as much as he could, so that he could make, you know, John Bonner look as bad as he could. And so they released all these criminals into our country that victimized our nation. And then what, they rewarded her, right? Where is she at now? Well, she's a governor. When I say a governor, she's on the board of directors for the entire state of California's colleges, whatever that organization is called. So they rewarded her, and they put her in charge of the #1 liberal indoctrination education system, if you want to call it that, in the country, right there in California. These people voted themselves into slavery out there. They get to keep maybe 10 cents out of every dollar that they make. And when their houses burn down, they're told, well, we're not even going to bring them. We're going to build this 20-minute city of the future that these people, like, there's nothing that Democrats could ever come up with. I don't give a shit what you got. Scientists that are Democrats, well, that tells me that you got mad scientists, because most of those people, when you look at who the accreditation and the people that actually are credible in the science and the medical fields, oftentimes all the people that Democrats quote are the low life, the low hanging fruit. Even Hal Fauci could have a career the way he did, when everyone knows academically that he is literally a person who should have never been even ever allowed to call himself a doctor. He's never practiced medicine. He's practiced on people. There's a difference. I gotta go, man. I've already, man. I have to apologize, because without knowing it, I began this video lying to you people. I said I was gonna make it a short video, and it may not even be a video that you can rewatch or go back and look at stupid shit I might have said so you can make fun of me, because I did play just a little snippet of music in the beginning, and I don't know how that's going to work. You know, I turned it off, you know, after a second, because it was really in line with the message that I wanted to convey, because believe it or not, there is a message I wanted to convey. Look, don't let them get you. I was, right before I came on to make this video, I read a comment to the thumbnail that I used yesterday on my video. I had also made as a post, and there was a comment on it that said, by looking at the post, Well, you have to go look. I pinned the comment. It shows the Canadian Parliament in a dressed like clowns, and they're driving a car straight out of. They're getting ready to crash into, I think it's a bus or a truck or something. I don't know. And if you read the comment, it just made me laugh, so I pinned it. Because if that were to happen, the guy in the comments said, and this is what I got from it, is that if that were to happen, that at the same time the tariffs kicked in, that Canada would be made great again because they were driving straight at a bus and there was no survival. And I thought that was pretty macabre. It was pretty macabre. And so it made me laugh because, you know, after all, no matter what, I joined the Marine Corps before I was even 18 years old. So I have a very macabre sense of humor. You can look it up. I know a lot of people, that's the way I pronounce it. I know it's got an R and an E at the end. You can go macabre, whatever. I don't say it like that because I think of chupacabra. And then I start seeing some of you guys as moms dressed in negligees. And I go, chupacabra. I'm sorry. I had to do it. And that's only for the liberals that are in here trolling me. Your moms look like chupacabra. I'm sorry. You look like a little cross between an imp and a vampire bat. Except you don't suck blood, you suck dick. I'm sorry. I got to, man. I went over my hour limit of controlling myself from saying raunchy, retarded stuff. Was it? Anyway, yo, Tony, man, I hope you're feeling better, man. Every day I see something going down. I really need to go get some tests done at the VA because I might be suffering too. Who knows? My friend just had a whole chunk of his nose cut out. And I thought he had gotten into a fight or something. And it was skin cancer. And it was a big, they took out from like here up to there. And there's a guy that I watch on YouTube. His name is Salty Cracker. And a little while ago, about a year ago, he had to have something done to his nose. I think he had some skin cancer on his nose. And they had to take a piece of his nose off, and then they put a piece of skin back there later on. I'm almost certain that's what happened. I don't think the guy said it, but everybody's suffering, bro. I'm glad to see you fighting every day. You know, you always, man, have always been very kind to me. And you don't understand how much that actually means to someone like me because you're a rarity in this world. You go through a lot. You go through a lot. You're like that poor kid that just had 7 brain surgeries, right? You can't help but love that little kid. And the sad thing about falling in love with a child like that is the knowledge that more than likely he's not going to make it. That's why, you know, it's hard. You know, the Bible tells us we're not supposed to be friends with animals. We're to be caretakers of this planet. We're supposed to do things in a specific way. We're not supposed to be gluttons. We are supposed to live like I believe in ecology, which means living in harmony. Like they don't want to clean up the forest. Well, that's our responsibility. We go in and clean up the forest, and then when you have a wildfire that hits, it can only do what a wildfire is supposed to do because that's a natural part of the ebb and tide of the universe, the way the earth works. I love the lyrics in that one song when he says, I'm not the wind, I'm the sky, right? And this world it's kind of like that. You have all this stuff. You have the wind, you have the sky, you have thunder, you have lightning. You have flammable items everywhere. You know, up until Benjamin Franklin invented the lightning rod, you couldn't even really have houses that were built too big. As a matter of fact, almost every single structural fire that had happened, you know, happened because of lightning hitting these wooden roofs and just burning down shit. The lightning rod itself, it changed the entire way that we could build and live in this world. But we live in a world that we have really very minimal control. This whole climate change hoax, guess what? This earth gets hot and gets cold. Climates shift. We live on a big ball that's spinning at hundreds of miles an hour on an axis which is wobbling. And so when you have a globe that's wobbling like this, and then you have a sun, which is another globe, right? And so on the sun, it has an equator, and on the earth, we have an equator. Now, if that equator, the equator is the shortest distance on the earth to the sun, which means these two round circles, right? And if I'm going to put it up here two-dimensionally. So up here at the top of the circle, you know, you're halfway away from this spot over here on the other side of the circle. And so if the equator changes, because it does. So if the earth tilts 2 degrees, you have automatically an adjustment that happens. Places that were colder become warmer. Places that were warmer become colder. How you like me now? Right? The sun is up there and we're spinning around it. So we're the inconstant thing. The only inconstant thing about the sun is the way that the solar flares as the sun, they call them solar flares. What are they? Well, that's the blasts of energy that shoot up off the surface of the sun that reach out in all kinds of directions where you can't even see it, but it's like an invisible sound wave that moves through the stars, and it eventually hits this planet. And some of those solar waves can affect electromagnetic devices on the planet. We had a big solar wave flare up that decimated electronic all through North America not too long ago. And so we can control only so much, and the rest of it is up to the universe. So you have God's will and you have God's way. His will is the way we're supposed to live, and the way is the way the universe operates outside of our will and his will. He set it in motion, and now it's there, and it's going to change. The structure of the earth has changed. The continental divides have changed. The continents have divided. They have collided. It's crazy what's happened on this earth. And how does that happen? It's tectonic plates shifting as the globe twists back and forth over time, as our magnetic poles have went from one side to the other, and it's happened. And when you want to look at the whole of everything, you will be manipulated if they have you concentrating on irrelevancies in comparison, because the fact of the matter is they only started studying temperatures and things like that not too long ago. But people say, oh, well, what about the almanac? The almanac bases its predictions on what? Solar flares. Look it up. Look it up. Tell me I'm a liar or whatever, but I'm going to get off here. I'm sitting out here burning my gas up in this truck. And this 7.5 liter ain't no joke, boy. He's nice and quiet, though. He's not like my other beast. I had a 7.5 liter 460 in my big van. I only parked where I'm parked right now because they were working on the asphalt. They got some cracks in the asphalt, and they're trying to zip it up, because if you don't zip them cracks up, water gets down through the cracks every time it rains, and it washes the base out from underneath until eventually you have to just tear the thing up and replace it because it just crumbles. And that's the way this earth, that our country is too. That really is. If you're building shit on unstable surfaces, you cannot expect the things that you build to last. We cannot continue in the direction we're continuing in. And so I look at every time one of these things are exposed, every single time something happens, you know, I'm looking for the positive in it, because then I can keep moving on and I can keep creating. But when all we do is concentrate on the negative, then you get caught up in the negative, and negative takes away, it doesn't add. That's why it's called negative, and that's why the other is called positive. That's why one's add and the other one's subtract. And so if you want to add to this world, then you don't concentrate on the negative. You concentrate on the positive. And the way to get away from the negative is to always concentrate on the positive. You can't call yourself progressive if you believe in regressive behavior. If you're trying to get rid of, like, you know, if you want to go back to the time of the Old West, most of you people that want to champion that type of shit, you wouldn't survive. And you force people like me to have to live a life that I don't have to live, because people like me have made a world where people don't have to live like that anymore. Where people like you, who couldn't survive in the world that you envision, try to push that down our throat. And we have to stand against that. And the only way you stand against it is to understand. The only way that you can understand is to pay attention and stop just going along with everything they say. Stop being a part of the program. Don't let them hypnotize you like they did all these people for so long. And now they're like, whoa, you know what? I was just on the borderline of being hypnotized to the point of self-destruction. And we're on the brink. But you got to fight that, because the inherent weakness that led you to be led astray to begin with is still in you. So you have to continue to fight it. It's still in me. It's in everyone, because it's called being a human being. It's easy to call someone a hypocrite, and it's very much easier to be a hypocrite. And many people call people hypocrites, not realizing that many times they do hypocritical shit too. So once you start concentrating on yourself, then maybe we'll do a lot better than warning about and pointing out all the negativities in others. Don't let this shit that went down with this Supreme Court decision. We're still winning. In the end, you know, and this is the whole thing. You got all these people that want to be anarchists, or they want to, just because they want to hurt somebody's feelings on the right, they say they're Satanists. Well, if you read all of the legend lore, if you treat it like Harry Potter, you'll see that in the end, the devil loses. So you're picking the losing side from the start, dummy. See ya.